surprised to see him still there when you guys were ready to pick?
A little bit. I mean, you do this long enough, you see those scenarios. We're very excited. He's got, elite hockey sense, offensive instinct. So we're really excited to get him, at 23. Very excited.
Was it someone that was high on your list, regardless of?
Yeah. Yeah, he was. He was really high, and we valued him as a staff. We saw him numerous times in the last couple of years at the under-18 tournaments, so the whole entire staff really liked him. It was a group effort, and again at 23, we're thrilled to be able to put him in our pipeline and add him to our prospect list.
How much of this is best player available at that point? How much of this is position-based too? Because obviously right wing is a position of need in this organization.
I think it's best player available. I just think you're in the first round. You don't know how the team's going to shape up, in years to come, and all these kids are – they have some time before they're ready, NHL ready. So you take the best player available, and that's what we thought he was.
You projected out now, what's his timeline for him? How long is he in college for, do you think? Like, what's his timeline?
I mean, that's really up to him and how he plays and just working, obviously, with the management staff in terms of when to come out. So we don't put a timeline on that. His development is the key. So we'll see whether it's 2, 3, that's going to be on him and how he plays and how he develops. So we don't really put a timeline on that. We're just glad to get him, and we know we have a good prospect, whether it's in 1 year or 3 years or whatever it may be.
The way the draft broke, maybe some surprises closer to the top. At what point did you think he might still be there? And then there were still some other attractive candidates when you picked. What made Gabe the guy over maybe some of those other choices?
Yeah, I think it's the hockey sense. I think I'll elaborate. He's a elite hockey sense guy. He thinks the game one step ahead. He's got a great stick, great vision, good shot. He's a dual threat. He can pass, he can shoot, he can score goals. So he just stood out with the overall skill level. We just think is terrific.
What did you make of what he did this past season, breaking most of Matthew's record?
Yeah, he had an amazing year. I mean, that team was offensively gifted. He had some good line mates, and each game, one of those three guys drove the line. It wasn't like just one of them drove the line. Gabe was a very important part of that line, and there were games we were at where he was a guy driving the line. I mean, he had, I think, 132 points or around there, just a terrific offensive year, and I think his game improved away from the puck as well. So it was a really good year for him.
How is it to evaluate someone who's in a program with so many high-end talented guys? Maybe the points sometimes be a little bit inflated, but how do you kind of sift through to evaluate someone like that?
I think the biggest thing is just getting your staff to watch as many games as they can, and that team plays in so many tournaments on the big stage, but it's the Tuesday night in Madison or a night where some of their other players are maybe at a World Junior tryout around Christmas time, and maybe he's playing with other players. How's he adapt to not being with maybe the top players on this team or whatever? So it's just the volume of how much you can see a guy, and so for us it's just making sure you see him as many times as you can, and we certainly had the viewings on Gabe. We saw him a ridiculous amount of times over the last 2 years. So again, with the pick, we were comfortable because of the viewing. So the staff did a great job just knowing this player inside and out.
In the later rounds, do you think you'll prioritize more organizational needs rather than best available player?
I still think best available player. I mean, you do make some adjustments on the list. You don't want to jump 10 players on the list, like skip a whole bunch of people. But if it's even and you've drafted all forwards, you might lean toward the defenseman, but you certainly you want the best player available. You may adapt a little bit just with positional need, but you can't jump too far because that sort of goes against the process. We have a process in place where we build a list, so to start really jumping around sort of goes against what we're trying to build in the course of the year.
How do you grade the talent pool in this year's draft? Rounds 2 through 7.
It's a good draft. It's like honestly, every year is a good. I think there's a good draft. There's always people label one as weak and label others as extremely strong. I mean, they all produce players. Some just have higher end at the top. It's a good draft. I thought last year was a good draft. I mean, I think every year produces lots of good hockey players. So it's a strong group.